Thank you very much for that presentation. That's wonderful. It's a wonderful example of, I think, of what we strive for in so many ways, um, for partnerships, from a community level to not-for-profit level to municipal level to business level, and what can be accomplished. My presentation here today, I called Truth, Reconciliation, and Watershed Management. And we're going to start with that. And I want to acknowledge that Muskoka Watershed Council took a great step to put to engage with my company Generation 7 at the start of the Muskoka Summit on the Environment towards creating and following through on the opportunities that exist in Muskoka, just like are shown from the Georgian Bay Biosphere. Different communities have advanced at different scales, and it is so great to see the incorporation of the employment of Indigenous community members and the participation. That is, I think, the big word that I have to use when I talk about truth, reconciliation, and watershed management is the active, meaningful participation of the Indigenous communities and the opportunities that will come out of it when done properly. With that, again, about myself a little bit more is I did go to Trent University with a dream to help the environment, and I was going to do environmental studies. And when I got there, I realized that the best way for me to amplify a sustainability worldview was through participation with the human participants that were from this land to help the environment. And that's why I went into Indigenous studies and have continued for 20 years to this day. My wife gave her regrets. She was just at a four-day Ontario Chiefs Conference in Thunder Bay, and today is her day off. But she is the director of the Environment Department for the 133 First Nations of Ontario. And again, incorporating as many voices as we can and Indigenous voices as we can in this is going to help us all the most. Okay, so very simply, but it is where we need to start again is what is truth and reconciliation, and it involves uncovering the past wrongdoings and seeking to resolve the conflict. What I very much liked from the past presentation is that as a settler, I'm not here to retell the stories and the Indigenous knowledge of my First Nations colleagues and friends, but try to show as best from my perspective on how we, through incorporating their participation in employment and science and in government, the best ways to create successful outcomes. And also, so we are in the era of truth and reconciliation. We all know that and are looking on how to resolve these conflicts. Now, while understanding the past wrongdoings, which is very important. And part of that means that we have to understand the social economic dynamics of the current state of affairs of our environments, and in this case, our watersheds, and who and how we need to incorporate and encourage participation while understanding the socioeconomic realities. And of course, UNDRIP, I'm not going to go into this too much. You can read what it says, recognition of rights, and through partnership and mutual respect. And it is a very important component that the Canadian government has adopted, which trickles down through all layers of government. And as community members, is important for us to understand and want to uphold. Here are some headings that some important points that I put up here. My presentation is not as clear. I kind of jump around a little bit. At the moment, I am in Florida because my mother had fallen and I'm taking care of her. So I kind of throw this together, and I hope you bear with me. It jumps around a little bit, but these came out of different pieces that of things that I've seen that I think are important for watershed management and our goals that we need to address. And, I'm just looking at some of them here. And we call on funding bodies to change approaches to funding. Very, very important at the moment. When, and that relates to the socio-political and economic landscapes on how we view how different groups participate in things. A lot of times, and in throughout my recognition, we think that everybody is able to volunteer for things, and it's just not the case in many situations. Even though in our society we are accustomed to that kind of normative participation. But it's and a lot of these points are talking about fundamentally changing the way we view participation. And so that's what I'm here to remind everybody of. And again, different ways of thinking about what is important and how is it important. It's just not for example, it just not may be Indigenous knowledge that's important in the participation of something like watershed management, but also employment and potential youth participation and elder involvement and capacity building, so that participation can build, and in 5 years we have a much stronger leg to stand on. So this goes to our roles and responsibilities. Our roles and responsibilities. So the provincial policy statement says that planning authorities are required to engage with Indigenous communities. So these are statements from the provincial policy statement 2020 that are still in effect. And you can see with the slides to the left on how many things that that affects. So as we know, watershed planning and management affects all these things. And when we think about getting Indigenous communities involved and participants involved in this, we can then recognize better the importance and how deep it actually goes. So it's not just it's in policy and it's wide reaching, and in order to do that, organizations like the Watershed Council, it's important for them to know this so that when we engage with municipal partners, we can create strategies, co-develop strategies to help everybody understand this, and as well be able for people like municipalities to then get clarity from the province on what they mean. This is also from the same document on watershed planning and Indigenous communities, on roles and responsibilities. And so basically in 2020, it was downloaded to municipalities for responsibility on engagement, but is there enough education on how to properly engage and really what it means, and so on. So we're all here to help each other and learn these roles and responsibilities and talk about them and try to find, in the end, really what it is how we can create the best practices that will create successful outcomes. That's what we're really all trying to do here. And so here you go. The one that we know as the most important is the first one. Early engagement is vital. Okay. And then, meaningful participation on steering committees. I mean, I'm not going to read through all these, but again, it's kind of never too late to start all over again. And that's what we kind of have to keep doing here, because again, from my perspective, rather than me sit here and try to incorporate Indigenous knowledge into this, is more my guidance on how do we do that properly? How do we get to that properly? And we, again, so there are things that have happened in the past where that have through Truth and Reconciliation that have not been done. No consultation, no engagement, or repeated requests for something that just never happens, or not enough money for things. And so lots of distrust has been created. And the beauty of this moment is there is a chance to recreate the trust and the relationships, and through watershed management. It's an incredibly amazing opportunity that we are sitting in. And again, these are the basics of the type of process that I'm talking about. Identifying the communities. We know the communities, and we but then establishing a coordinating agency, say for example. Now I loved what was said in the past presentation, that there is a cultural advisory committee, that kind of coordinating agency, and there is no better way to do that than for for the environment, for environmental and water associated issues. So these things are all here, and of course they need, then the last one in step one is very important. Determine funding and responsibilities. It can't be avoided. But the success that will come out of it also can't be avoided. So like you say, a wise investment. So then, of course, there's lots of talk, of charters, and I know that the municipality, or there's going to be a meeting next week in Huntsville, and there's talk of certain ways to move this forward, terms of references, charters, all very important, and very important to have in First Nation participation from the beginning, and frank discussions about it. So I think here is how that's what we are wanting to do and trying to do is establish and support and facilitate meaningful First Nations participation on the opportunities, and of course project management, funding, and coordination, information sharing is all very important. The other thing that is to be noted in this is on the watershed scale, we know how difficult it is with whatever it is, 14 municipalities and 5 First Nations, and and we all know that the conservation authorities initially began as a means in which jurisdictions could come together to undertake programs for national resource management and cost sharing. So how important is that with First Nations participation? Because it's not just cost sharing, it's access to funding, and for the benefit of the land and waters. So we can't diminish that importance. The other thing that we struggle with as settlers and municipalities is sometimes we feel as if we give power away to another entity such as a First Nation, then we lose power or something, and we have to we have to get rid of, I believe we really need to not worry so much about that, and imagine a lot of the First Nations don't want to get into any kind of agreements that will abrogate their rights to the land, their inherent rights to the land. So we go to the table with humility and partnership for improving the land, hopefully improving the economics of the region through hopefully when you create a healthier environment, you're going to create more tourism opportunities and that kind of thing. So we have lots of incredible opportunities there. And some of the details of those opportunities that need to be thought about are obviously leadership roles. Watershed security is a big one. Not policing, but now land stewards, indigenous land stewardship, tourism, and public, including First Nations in public relations, opportunities and marketing opportunities, will benefit the whole region. So the Muskoka Watershed Council and the municipalities in pursuing watershed management in a smart way with Indigenous participation is a win-win. So, with that, I think there was a couple of questions that I wrote down here. How can municipalities or not-for-profits engage, partner, and collaborate with Indigenous communities for this? And some of the other questions here are a little bit redundant. We just saw a great example of incredible participation with the biosphere, and so I invite discussion and questions and collaboration on this. Thank you.